Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Wayne County. I am your worship associate, Tim Briner. We are a diverse congregation that welcomes you as you are, regardless of your age, ethnicity, race, sexual orientation, gender identity, economic status, or physical ability. We come together to seek deeper meaning and understanding from each other and the world around us. Your presence here today is a gift that brings us closer to that understanding. We're an active community that lives its values beyond the hours of Sunday morning, and I would like to call your attention to the following. The membership and music committees invite you to a spring campfire on Saturday, June 7th at 7:30 p.m. by our labyrinth, which is right out there. We'll supply s'more makings, cornhole, and songbooks. Please bring your own beverages, lawn chairs, instruments, and maybe your favorite yard games and snacks to share. Please see the flyers in the lobby for more information. The UUFWC yard sale is on for 2025. The sale will be held July 25th and 26th. So start cleaning out those closets and stay tuned for details. Many thanks to Debbie Hawkey, who has volunteered to chair the sale. If you have questions or would like to volunteer to help, contact Debbie at debra.a.hawkey@gmail.com. I had to read it. They told me to read it, so I did. Or you can call her at 863.381.4000. I have to read the script as it is. I can't vary from it. Okay. If you would like to find out more about our activities, feel free to ask Karen Skubik, our membership coordinator.
Thank you, Tim. But Steve here has something he has to say first, it looks like.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Steve Thomas, the Vice President of our board. This is just a reminder to let everybody know that after the service today, probably about 15 minutes after the service, we will be having an informational session on one of the proposals that the board has that we will vote on in a special meeting. That will be on the solar panels added to the addition. And in addition to that, a reminder that on June 8th, the day after the campfire, if you're not hungover from singing, come on, that we will have a special meeting where we will vote on the initiative for the solar panel, the initial for the potential purchase of land just to our north, and then to establish potentially a capital campaign to help fund both of those initiatives. Again, thank you all for coming this morning.
Today's meeting is when?
Right after the service, probably about 10 or 15 minutes after the service.
So people have time to grab a cup of coffee.
They have
first.
time, very good. Coffee, talk among yourselves,
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah, thank you. All right. And I would like to welcome everybody. And I always feel like I should be able to welcome every single person as they come in, and I wasn't able to do that this morning, believe it or not. But if you are new here, I would especially like to welcome you, and we do have some new folks here, and I will be in the back of the sanctuary after the service, and I'd be happy to give you a tour and show you around. And I see Debbie's here, so Debbie, do you mind just waving your hand? She's the one about the yard sale, or the garage sale, whatever we're called, yard sale, so she's the one willing to chair it, so thank you. So now you know who Debbie is. And if you have any other questions, I'm around. But welcome, everybody.
Our chalice lighting this morning is from Emily Dickinson. Oh, sorry.
Let's do the prelude first.
Oh, sorry, we got to do the prelude. Our chalice lighting this morning is from Emily Dickinson. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help the fainting robin onto his nest again, I shall not live in vain. Let us now rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn. The music can be found in the gray hymnal number 108.
We don't have a time for all ages this morning. Sorry, guys. You okay with that? They're okay with that. All right. And they are going to their classrooms today, is that correct? Yes? No? No?
Teachers have off today. The summer RE program starts on June 8th.
Okay, all right. They get a bye for today then, okay? This is the semifinals, so. I am so glad to see you all here today. It's a holiday weekend, and you know, this is officially kind of the start of summer, and a lot of schools have let out, and it's one of those weekends that it's beautiful outside, and so we should take advantage of that also. But we take a time in each of our services, and we reserve it for just a few moments of meditation. It's a time to get yourself centered in this space and to forget everything outside of these walls. So I'm going to ask you to place your feet flat on the floor. Place your hands in your laps. And take in a big, deep breath. Exhale and feel your shoulders drop down below your ears. Close your eyes again. Take in another deep breath. And as you exhale, clear your mind of all the worries and troubles just for this time together here in this building. Close your eyes and go back to a simpler time. Maybe back to your childhood when there were no cell phones, no Fitbits, and your life really wasn't monitored. You played with your friends in the neighborhoods until the street lights came on, which was a time for everyone to go home and enter their house to the smell of your mother cooking dinner on the stove. A house that was hopefully filled with love. You felt safe, and you felt calm. We'll observe just a few minutes of silence now. We take this time now to symbolize the releasing of any joys or sorrows that you may have by placing a stone in the water. Pick up your stone, hold it, and put all of those cares and worries on that stone and just drown them away. And while that is going on, for those of you who want to come up and do that, we will have Sue play the Spirit of Light for us, and we'll sing that.
Our faith is centered on the belief that we can make this world a better place for all who dwell in it. In order to realize that vision, we need both the motivation and the means. Your donation helps the community put its faith into action by supporting our programming and facilities. This morning and throughout the month of May, donations that are not designated for another purpose will be split with 180. 180 is a nonprofit organization that helps people with recovering from addiction and substance abuse. They also assist victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. For those who are watching on our website, for those who are watching online or who do not carry cash, you can donate on our website by scanning the QR code in the order of service and on the screen. The offering will now be collected and gratefully received. Please join me in this unison readings. The words are on the screen. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. Let us for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others. Our first reading today is from the Reverend Greta W. Crosby. If I could give you one key, and one key only, to more abundant life, I would give you a sense of your own worth, an unshakable sense of your own dignity as one grounded in the source of the cosmic dance, as one who plays a unique part in the unfolding of the story of the world. Secure in the sense of our own worth, we can rejoice in the worth of others and love out the fullness instead of an inner emptiness that eats others alive. Our second reading is from the Reverend Dr. Tom Owen Toll. We do not choose to be born. We do not select our historical epoch, our parentage, the country of our birth, or the immediate circumstances of our upbringing. We do not, most of us, decide the time or circumstances of our death. But within these limitations, we do decide how we shall live, honorably or dishonorably, with purpose or adrift. No matter how seemingly indifferent the universe may appear to us, sorry, I need to go back. We do not Most of us decide the time or circumstances of our death, but within these limitations, we do decide how we shall live, honorably or dishonorably, with purpose or adrift. No matter how seemingly indifferent the universe may appear to our choices, they are ours to make. But it's scary to take one's destiny finally into one's own hands. Many folks turn down the option and all too willingly hand over their souls into another's keeping. Nonetheless, making choices remains at one, the mortal peril and deathless splendor of our human lot.
Good morning to you all. It's a beautiful day in Wayne County, isn't it? So why are we all sitting here? Anyway, as we know, this holiday weekend, we celebrate Memorial Day, which is to celebrate those who gave their lives in a life of service. It hasn't been that long ago that members of the military were looked down upon in the Unitarian Universalist organization. And it's because of the pacifist background we have had that they were looked down upon, because they did go to war and the things that they had to do in that war. But that attitude quickly changed. And now we even have UU ministers who are serving as military chaplains all over the world. When I first got the idea for this sermon, I started doing a great deal of research. The subject became even more important to me when I found out what the current administration is doing, and they seem to be driven to remove women, first off, from military service, and those that are very high-ranking, but they even want to remove any mention of them in our history. So I've chosen to tell you about a few. I initially had 10, so I pared that down, and I'm going to talk to you today about a few of these women who have served in the military and the things they went on to do in their lives. Women in the military broke through barriers. They paved the way for future generations, and they also, even after getting out of the military, played significant roles during their service and later in life. The first woman I'm going to talk about today is Grace Murray Hopper, also known as Amazing Grace. Commodore Hopper's importance in the U.S. naval history is apparent everywhere you turn. A destroyer was named after her, the USS Hopper DDG-70, as well as the Cray XE-6 Hopper supercomputer. She was the founder of COBOL. And without COBOL, none of us would have our little laptops today, would we? But as a programming language, a precursor to many of the software codes and approaches they use today, and her work was legendary among computer scientists and mathematicians. In 1943, during World War II, she joined the United States Naval Reserves, and she was assigned to the Bureau of Ordnance Computation Project, where she became the third programmer of the world's largest scale computer, the Mark I. When she saw it, all she could think about was taking it apart and finding out how it worked. I'm kind of the same way. I seem to say, okay, how does that work? And she has quoted by saying, "It was an impressive beast. She was 51 feet long, 8 feet high, and 5 feet deep, and I wanted to know how it ran." So she had mastered the Mark I, the Mark II, the Mark III, and while trying to repair the Mark I, she discovered a moth caught in the relay, and that was the reason it wasn't working. So she took it out, and she taped it to the wall, and coined the phrase, "a bug in the computer." Now you know where that came from. During her career, she mastered the UNIVAC-1, the first large-scale electronic computer, and created a program that translated symbolic math codes into machine language. This breakthrough allowed programmers to store codes on magnetic tape and recall them when they were needed, essentially the first compiler. And then in 1966, Hopper retired from the Naval Reserves as a commander, but she was called back to active duty 1 year later at the Navy's request to help standardize its computer programs in all their languages. She was promoted to captain in 1973 by Admiral Zelmo Zumwalt Jr., Chief of Naval Operations. And in 1977, she was promoted to Special Advisor to the Commander of Naval Data Automation Command, NAVDAC, where she stayed until she retired. And then in 1983, a congressman from Illinois, Representative Philip Crane, who said it's time the Navy recognized the outstanding contributions made by this officer, recalled from retirement over a decade and a half ago, and promote her to the rank of Commodore. Crane became interested in Hopper after seeing her in March of 1983 in a 60 Minutes interview. He'd never met Hopper. But after speaking with several people, he was convinced that she was due the added status of being a flag officer. The bill was approved by the House, and at age 76, she was promoted to Commodore by special presidential appointment, and her rank was elevated to Rear Admiral in November of 1985, making her one of the few female admirals in history of the Navy of the United States. Sorry, dry throat. So by the time of her death in 1992, Amazing Grace was renowned as a mentor and a giant in her field, with honorary doctorates from more than 30 universities, and she was laid to rest with full military honors in Arlington National Cemetery. Excuse me. One of the most celebrated heroines in American history, Harriet Tubman, is best known for ushering slaves to freedom through the Underground Railroad in the 1850s. But not everyone knows that Tubman, who escaped slavery in 1849, set up a vast espionage ring for the Union during the Civil War. Excuse me. She served as a cook, a nurse, and even a spy for the Union during the Civil War, and she was also the first woman in American history to lead a military expedition. In one of her most dramatic and dangerous roles, Tubman helped Colonel James Montgomery plan a raid to free slaves from plantations along the Combahee River in South Carolina. Early in the morning on June 1st, 1863, 3 gunboats carrying several hundred male soldiers, along with Tubman, set out on their mission. Tubman had gathered all the key information she needed, and she got it to her scouts, and she got all the information also on the Confederates' position, and knew where they were hiding along the shore. She also found out that they had placed torpedoes, and torpedoes in that day were barrels filled with gunpowder, in the water. Ultimately, her group freed about 750 slaves, men, women, children, and babies, and they didn't lose a single soldier during this attack. Reporting on the raid to the Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton, Brigadier General Rufus Saxton said, "This is the only military command in American history wherein a woman, black or white, led the raid and under whose inspiration it was originated and conducted." Sadly, Tubman was only paid $200 during her 3 years of service and was denied a pension for her spy work. During World War II, the U.S. Army Corps military training, medical, through the development of air evacuations of personnel was being developed. Contributing to this was Second Lieutenant Elsie S. Ott, a flight nurse on the first intercontinental air evacuation flight that demonstrated the potential of air evacuation. She was born in 1913 in Smithtown, New York. She attended Lenox Hospital School of Nursing in New York City after completing high school. Several positions in area hospitals. Ott joined the Army Nurse Corps in September of 1941. She was commissioned as a second lieutenant and soon after had assignments to Louisiana and Virginia before being sent to Karachi, India. It was during this assignment that she would participate in the first air evacuation. Originating from Karachi, patients were evacuated to Walter Reed Hospital in Washington, D.C. Ott was assigned to the flight with only 24 hours' notice. Prior to this, she had no flying experience and had never even flown before. So she gathered blankets, sheets, and pillows for the trip, but only medical equipment available to her was what she had in her first aid kit. No medical professional screened the patients who were to fly with Ott, and she was a sergeant. She had a sergeant with her with a medical background. They were the only two people on board to care for these patients. So they left Karachi with 5 wounded personnel on January 17th of 1843. Of those 5, 2 were paralyzed from the waist down. 1 suffered from tuberculosis. Another had glaucoma, and a 5th was suffering manic depressive psychosis. After stops along the way for refueling, the plane reached its destination nearly a week after beginning, normally a 3-month trip by sea. Ott knew that her report on the trip would be crucial for further planning, and she immediately sat down and made notes for any future flights. Among the suggestions she listed were the need for oxygen, more wound dressing supplies, extra coffee, and blankets. She also noted that wearing a skirt was impractical for this kind of duty. So, she wore pants. A few months later, Ott received the first U.S. Air Medal, the first given to a woman in the U.S. Army for her role in the evacuation flight. She would later be promoted to captain before being discharged in 1946. Nearly 20 years later, Ott was selected to christen a new type of air ambulance, the C-9 Nightingale. These were some amazing women. But the one that Harriet Tubman is always to me, I'm amazed at the things that she did. And if you don't know it, the Wayne County and Holmes County were right on the path of the Underground Railroad. They came right up here and went straight up to Cleveland. And so if you don't know about the Underground Railroad and the history in Wayne and Holmes County, look it up. It is very, very interesting. There's one more person on my list, and her name is Dr. Mary Edwards Walker. She was born in 1932, and she consistently challenged the norms of her era. She earned her medical degree in 1855 from Syracuse Medical College. Of course, the acceptance of a female doctor was limited, and she faced, of course, significant bias when trying to establish her practice. During the Civil War, she volunteered her services and eventually became a surgeon for the Union Army and frequently crossed enemy lines just to treat wounded. Her dedication to her patients led to her capture in 1864, and she was held for several months before being released in a prisoner exchange. Throughout her service and beyond, Dr. Walker was known for her unconventional attire. She chose to wear men's surgical uniforms, including trousers and a knee-length white coat for practicality. This often led to scrutiny and even public arrests for impersonating a man. How far we have come. In 1865, Dr. Walker was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for her valorous and meritorious service during the Civil War. It was the first time it was awarded to a woman, but later the medal was revoked in 1917 during a review that affected over 900 recipients due to changes in eligibility criteria. And you know what that was, right? Women couldn't receive it. So she revoked her Medal of Honor, but Mary, being who Mary was, didn't give it back. And she wore it every day up until the day she died in 1919, and she was buried with it. Beyond her medical and wartime heroism, Dr. Walker was also a staunch advocate for women's suffrage, dress reform, and numerous other causes, and her legacy is one of courage, resilience, and a commitment to honor her medical calling and the advancement of women's rights. There are so many others that time doesn't really allow me to talk about today. They may try to erase them from the history books, and they may kick them out of the military, and they may do all these things, but their service to the country will never be forgotten. They can't erase that from our memories, as well as they shouldn't erase that from our memories. If you have time and you want to look up more of some amazing women, just Google women in the military, and oh my goodness, you get quite a list. And it was kind of hard to pare this down just to these three folks. But we honor their service. This is the day that we honor everyone's service, whether they came home or whether they didn't come home. And it's important that we remember what this holiday is about and how these have served our country. Blessed be. Let's sing, shall we? Sing song number 318 is in the gray hymnal, We Would Be One. Our benediction today comes from Frederick E. Gillis. The spirit of community in which we share and find strength and common purpose. We turn our minds and hearts toward one another, seeking to bring into our circle of concern all who need our love and support. Those who are ill, those who are in pain, either in body or spirit, and those who are lonely, and those who have been wronged. We are part of the web of life that makes us one with all humanity, one universe. We are grateful for the miracle of consciousness that we share, the consciousness that gives the power to remember, to love, and to care.